Hello everyone, my name is Shahana. My dissertation topic is line in architecture. Now, moving on to the need of the research to understand what a line and how lines are manipulated in the already existing architecture construction, how they contribute in both designed and undesigned spaces. From the study, we can arrive at the result how lines can be used. From the title of the dissertation, some of you may have thought how a simple line can change the architecture. As we all know, line is one among the basic elements of architecture, so even line have something to do with architecture. Analyze how line as an element can manipulate the spatial quality of a space. Objectives are mentioned below. Scope and limitation. The study can be done on the basis of both literature case studies and live case studies. There are many examples. The live case studies were limited to the immediate neighborhood and interior spaces, but that will help to understand line have something to do with both professionally designed and undesigned spaces. Every simple line have its own contribution to the space. Talking about the literature review, the topics I have covered are the basic elements of architecture, that is point, line, plane, volume. From that, about lines, type of lines, characteristics of lines, lines and technical drawings. For this, the books I have referred are Analyzing Architecture by Simon Unwin and Architecture Form Space in Order by Francis D. Kitching. Characteristics of lines: verticality, horizontality, directionality, movement guide, and space definition. Verticality is mainly used in religious buildings like temples, mosques, and churches because they believe the god is up in the sky. The tall, large columns contribute in the verticality and creates a holy experience inside the space. Horizontality. Here is an example of Sun Temple, Modera. Here the public Suryakund and the semi-public Sabha Mandapa and a private space Gurda Mandapa is aligned in a linear horizontal axis and according to their character of the space. The Suryakund is public and the Sabha Mandapa is semi-public and the Guda Mandapa is private. And these lines means columns contribute in their spatial quality also. And other characters of lines is directionality, space definition, and movement guide. Here I'm trying to address the line which we are familiar with but ignoring in the most of the situations, the meaning of simple scribbles, not only the straight lines of the masters but the lines that we are living with, importance of small things. Methodology. The study start from the basic element of architecture. Line is split into two in construction and in books. The books I referred are Analyzing Architecture, 25 Buildings Every Architect Should Understand, Elements of Space Making, Form, Space and Order. The two case studies were live case studies and literature case studies together contributed to the final conclusion of the study. Line in art. Different lines have different emotions. Here are examples of artists using lines to convey the emotions of the picture. Sometimes the straight, sharp-edged lines give the emotion of stress and anger, and some freely moving lines give the feeling of the movement, and some curvy lines give the confusion, and every line have different emotions to convey. Line in architecture. Barcelona Pavilion, Mies van Rohe, 1929. The architect was free to choose the site for Barcelona Pavilion anywhere inside the Grand Plaza, but the site selected was in the end of the axis, the building now standing on the original site at the western end of the Grand Plaza. About the axis plays one of the important role in the design of Barcelona Pavilion. The main Grand Plaza itself is aligned perfectly in two perpendicular horizontal axes, and Barcelona Pavilion is placed in the end of those axes. Architect first established a platform, a stage on which to performs his architecture, a discrete platform or a ledge emerging from the slope and with the surface reaching to the slope. The platform needs its own access steps, avoiding the axis of the Grand Plaza. He followed the rule of asymmetry, following the axis is similar, following the authority. The rectangular platform modified in a number of places to accommodate an office in the left back corner. The spaces are separated using only straight lines. These separations are either opaque walls or transparent glass walls. The original pavilion had temporary doors for the night, but in the renovated one there are permanent doors. Permanent doors symbolizes a discrimination and exclusion that breaks the idea of fluidity in the design. Creating a visual confusion. The columns and the walls they are not both necessary together. One of them could support the roof alone. The red line shown in the figure breaks the main axis of the Grand Plaza in order to maintain the symmetry. It's a hint to visitor that the access to the space is not in the same axis. It guides the visitor to two different directions. People are free to move to the right or left. It is not necessary that every lines should be geometrical. Now we can discuss about Endless House by Frederick Isar, 1947. The natural lines of a fish skeleton and irregular or broken line of stones are found to be beautiful than the structure that is constructed by formal geometry and proportion. By the arrival of the softwares, we destroyed our ability to draw free natural lines. Free drawing allows the hand to move without conscious control and give chance to free swirl lines. And the innovative designs with life produced. Falling Waters by Frank Lloyd Wright. As generally in Wright's design, Falling Waters plan also done on regular grid 5 by 5. The grid helps to make the sense of a space and ordering irregularity. The grid helps to architect perform magic. This grid helps to place the elements in the proper place and the correct proximities. Here, the architect want to use the features of the sites and already existing, that is the natural features. In the same way, he is working in a regular grid. He want to introduce an architecture to that site which should feel like that was already existing there. The south elevation shows the building has a different rhythm. There are three buttresses that are placed under the shadow of the upper slab. They support the cantilever. These buttresses are placed 2.5 grid apart. The lines creates a separate rhythm for the south elevation. Vitray power station Zaha Hadid lines are better being described as line energy. They are dynamic rather than static lines. Zaha Hadid used perspective drawings, not the conventional orthogonal drawings. As following the Einstein suggestion that the space is curved, Zaha Hadid's perspectives are curved, line curving towards the curved horizon. The box, the rectangular box might be deconstructed. Zahadi take a step further to distortion. One way of creating distorted architecture form would be start with a conventional design and push and pull it out of the shape. Center Pompidou. By externalizing the load-bearing structural members, their circulation and other services, the wastage of the space inside reduces. Inside, the architect got cleaner and efficient spaces by taking out the service lines, and those lines made external facade unique too. Taking out those lines made the difference in the whole spatial quality of the building. One of the unique feature of the building is the striking colors: blue for the air conditioning, yellow for electricity, green for water, and red for escalators and lifts. Louvre Pyramid. The concept of the pyramid, which is an Egyptian identity symbolizing death, was a reason for debates. Structurally and conceptually, the design won't fit into the courtyard of the Louvre. The context, the form standing itself is a challenge for the architect. The glass pyramid is placed in the central courtyard of the Louvre Museum in Paris. The old museum and new structure has two completely different characters, the style of the design material used and everything. The axis the Louvre pyramid is placed is perfectly aligned with the Louvre Museum. This may be the reason for the pyramid blends smoothly with the context. Till now, we were discussing about the designed spaces of masters, and now we can look into some examples that are not designed, some interior spaces. And here is some examples. And in the first figure, the groove in the lintel level is clearly evident. That line breaks the monotony of the double height wall. If that groove was absent in the wall in which the staircase is supported, and that would be a plain double height wall that can affect the scale of the space, that won't blend with a small scale residence. And in the second image, they tried to mirror the flooring pattern in the ceiling. The rectangle offset from the walls having a different tile and pattern. So the rectangle is easily identified. But because of the unplanned furniture layout, the effort did not effort to define that rectangle was worthless to an extent. And the third image, the road seen in that figure feel like ending, like leading towards the sky. That might confuse the driver who is driving through that road. And there are no hints for them about the direction and where to turn the vehicle. If there were trees in the either side of the road that leading to the right side, and the driver could clearly identify the direction. Simon Unwin have said in his book Analyzing Architecture, sometimes architecture is possible without lines if you think architecture in terms of identification of places. Example, children sitting under a tree. Here there are no lines, just recognition of place to be. Lines are we draw, and the lines that are already existing in nature. There is no rules that a line should be something geometrical or proportional, that can be derived from the nature also, the free living lines. Conclusion. Line is a language to communicate art and architecture. An artist or architect uses the lines to convey his emotions and ideas. A line drawn in a base plan can change the character of the building, how the people should move inside, and how the space should be. A line can block your movement on the same way it can guide your path. A plain wall, a line can block you moving in a straight line and direct you in different direction. It can avoid the use of name boards. Lines can direct you. When hands are set free, there originate the meaningful architecture. Either designed or undesigned spaces, there are important lines. Every line want to be something.